Okay, good morning and welcome to Iyun on Mishna. Today's Mishnah is Sheviis, Perek Vav and Perek Zayin. Perek Vav. Mishnah is Beis and Gimel, not Perek Zayin. In Mishnah Beis over here, it says in Syria obviously is not part of Israel. There's no Isra of Shemitah over there. Now we're going to start the poskim talk about the Mafarshim, the explanations over here. So the commentaries talk about: are you allowed to benefit? Are you allowed to do work? You're obviously not allowed to work the land of Shemitah and cause things to grow. But once something grows during Shemitah, are you allowed to harvest that and process that? Two things. Harvesting is to separate it from the ground, and then after it's separated, to process it, to bring it to actual food that's edible. For example, get rid of the chaff from the wheat and things like that. Processing. There's processing and harvesting. So harvesting, we had the Rav quotes a brisa. He says, it says in Torah Kohanim, "Min hashamor yata botzra v'ta min hamufkar," that even in Eretz Yisrael, if it's mufkar, if people gave up on their fields, they let anyone come into the fields and take things, hefker, which is supposed to do on Shemitah, let your field be hefker. So anyone can come and harvest and pick grapes and eat the grapes. There's no problem with that. It's an Isra on Shomer. If you were Meshamer it, you kept your field private, which you're not allowed to do. So Halacha says you're not allowed to harvest it. But it's clear from Torah's Kohanim that if it was harvested, the Isra, or there was some heter way of doing it, you're allowed to process it. You're allowed to process it, even though it's Meshamer, you're allowed to process that. It says in Syria, and the same Halacha basically applies in Syria, that you can process it in a meshumer, but you can't cut it off the mechuber. The only difference between Syria and Israel is their abonan. Whether it's Doraisa or their abonan. Torah's Kohanim seems to imply that it's Doraisa to harvest something from a meshumer field. And Eretz Yisrael is Doraisa. Obviously, in Syria it's not Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. There's no problem with Doraisa if it's meshumer. There's no problem with Doraisa of making your field private in Syria. They're abonan, and they explain, the Yerushalmi explained, they don't want people to go live in Syria during the year of Shemitah. They want people to live in the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, they said they made a gzera d'rabbanan to make Syria exactly like Eretz Yisrael. That if you keep your field private, you can only process these things, but you cannot harvest them. So therefore, as a chumer, you wouldn't go live in Syria. It's the same thing basically as Eretz Yisrael. If you look at the Rav, he gives other explanations, making it very complicated. I think this is the simplest explanation of the Mishnah. Basically, the dinim are the same in Syria and Eretz Yisrael. The only difference is the Rais and the Rabbanan. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you tomorrow.